Imagine a world where the night sky isn't just a canvas of distant stars, but a bustling neighborhood. For centuries we've looked up and wondered, are we alone? We've dreamed of alien empires and star-spanning federations, of humanity taking our first steps into a grand cosmic stage. But what if that knock on our door wasn't just a friendly hello, but a summons? A summons to join a society so vast and so ancient that its laws predate our pyramids. Its customs are more complex than our global economies, and its very existence challenges everything we thought we knew about being human. Today, we're not just exploring the possibility of alien life. We're diving into the staggering, mind-bending reality of what happens when humanity is no longer the sole ruler of its own destiny, when we have to answer to a galactic law. For all our scientific achievements and cultural milestones, let's face it, humanity is a mess. We've spent millennia fighting each other over land, resources, and ideologies. We've built great civilizations only to watch them crumble. So the myth is that first contact would be this glorious unifying moment, a cosmic awakening where all our squabbles finally disappear. The reality? Our history suggests otherwise. Consider the European colonization of the Americas, where vastly different cultures collided. The more technologically advanced society brought with it not just new ideas, but disease, conquest, and new forms of governance that the indigenous peoples were utterly unprepared for. The shock of the new was catastrophic. What happens when the technological and cultural gap isn't a few centuries but a few million years? The shocking fact is that our entire legal and social framework is based on the idea that humanity is the ultimate authority on Earth. But under galactic law, we might just be considered a developing planet or a pre-sentient civilization until we meet certain criteria. Our cherished concepts of national sovereignty and international law could become a quaint footnote in an intergalactic legal code. The connection is chilling. Our first moment of contact might not be about joining a club, but about being classified, and that classification will determine our rights, our responsibilities, and our future. What would be the first law they impose? Maybe something we consider a basic right, like free speech, might be a dangerous liability in a society where a careless message could trigger an interstellar incident. The dream of space travel is a universal one. We imagine sleek starships and bold explorers boldly going where no one has gone before. The myth is that we'd be granted the keys to the galaxy, free to explore and settle new worlds. The reality, however, is likely much stricter. A galactic society, to maintain peace and order, would almost certainly have strict zoning laws for the cosmos. The shocking fact is that many of the planets we might consider settling could be off-limits. They might be designated as protected ecological reserves for native flora and fauna, or perhaps primitive observation zones to study other developing civilizations without interference. Our entire drive to expand and colonize could be seen as an act of cosmic vandalism. The connection? Think about the Galapagos Islands or Yellowstone National Park. We as humans have agreed to set aside certain areas as protected lands, restricting access and development for the greater good. Now scale that up to the Milky Way. Our most ambitious plans for deep space exploration could be vetoed by a galactic treaty we had no say in creating. Instead of being bold pioneers, we might be treated like children at a playground, told which areas we're allowed to play in and which are strictly off-limits. But what if we find something they want to protect? Something right here on Earth that we've been exploiting for centuries. We pride ourselves on our free market, on competition and innovation driving us forward. We believe that intellectual property and trade are the pillars of a strong economy. The myth is that we'd be a valuable trading partner, offering unique human goods and services. The reality? We're the equivalent of a street vendor trying to sell handmade trinkets at a global tech conference. The shocking fact is that a galactic economy would operate on principles we can't even comprehend. Imagine a society that has mastered matter replication, where any resource can be created from raw energy. The concept of scarcity, which drives our entire economic system, would be meaningless. Our gold, our diamonds, our oil, utterly worthless. The connection is a gut punch to our entire way of life. Our modern economy is built on a foundation of scarcity and labor. A galactic economy might be built on the principle of abundance, with the goal not of profit, but of the equitable distribution of resources. Our patents and copyrights could be deemed archaic, and our global corporations might find their business models completely obsolete. We might have nothing to trade and nothing to offer except our unique perspectives and culture. Would our art and music be considered valuable, or just another set of data points in a vast cosmic library? We tell ourselves that we are a society of laws, built on principles of justice and fairness. The myth is that our legal system, for all its flaws, is a universal concept. The reality is that galactic law would be based on principles far beyond our current understanding. The shocking fact is that their concept of a crime might be fundamentally different from ours. We focus on individual intent and action. A galactic law might focus on planetary-level impact. For example, a global event like a large-scale war, a devastating act of environmental destruction, or even the suppression of an entire species could be a galactic crime punishable by sanctions, quarantine, or even forced intervention. The connection? Think about how we view animal cruelty. In many places, it's a crime. Now imagine a galactic society that views the extinction of a species, say the polar bear, as a cosmic act of vandalism. Our current legal system would prosecute the individuals who directly caused the extinction, but a galactic court might hold the entire planet accountable, perhaps imposing sanctions until we can prove we're capable of planetary stewardship. Would our national sovereignty mean anything when a galactic fleet can hold us accountable for our collective actions? Communication is the bedrock of our society. We use languages, images, and data to share information and build relationships. The myth is that we'd be able to talk to our new neighbors with a universal translator. The reality is that their forms of communication might be so alien as to be incomprehensible. The shocking fact is that a highly advanced species might not even communicate with sound or light waves. They could use quantum entanglement to send instant thoughts, or use pheromones, or even communicate through pure data streams. Our attempts to speak might be like trying to have a conversation with a dolphin using only Morse code. The connection is crucial. If we can't communicate effectively, how can we negotiate a treaty? How can we defend ourselves in a legal proceeding? We might be forced to rely on translators or interpreters from a species that we're not even sure we can trust. Our best linguists and cryptographers would be utterly useless, and our entire system of diplomacy, built on nuanced language and careful negotiation, would be rendered obsolete. What if our attempts at diplomacy were seen as a childish game, or worse, a sign of our primitive nature? We spend our lives striving, creating, and building, driven by a desire for personal achievement and a sense of purpose. We believe that hard work and ambition are the keys to a fulfilling life. The myth is that our unique human drive would be an asset to a galactic society. The reality? It might be a source of bewilderment. The shocking fact is that in a post-scarcity society, the entire concept of a job or a career might not exist. A galactic citizen's purpose might be centered on art, philosophy, or pure scientific research, unburdened by the need to earn a living. The connection is jarring. What is our purpose as a species if our current economic engine is dismantled? If there are no more jobs, what do we do? We've seen how automation is already causing a stir in our own society. Now imagine that on a cosmic scale. The psychological impact could be immense. Our sense of identity, so tied to what we do, would be shattered. Would we be content to simply exist, or would our innate human drive to build and achieve be seen as an aggressive, destabilizing force? Could we find a new purpose, or would we succumb to ennui and meaninglessness? The concept of a galactic empire is a staple of science fiction, full of heroes and villains and cosmic struggles. The myth is that we'd either be welcomed into a benevolent federation or have to fight for our freedom. The reality is far more complex and bureaucratic. The shocking fact is that the galactic body we meet might not be an empire at all, but more like a planetary equivalent of the United Nations or the European Union, a sprawling, inefficient, and endlessly complex bureaucracy where nothing gets done quickly. The connection is that our entire foreign policy would have to change. We wouldn't be dealing with other nations, but with a complex web of committees, subcommittees, and specialized councils, each with its own jurisdiction and agenda. Our leaders would have to become interstellar diplomats, navigating a political landscape of trillions of beings, each with their own history and motivations. What's more, their version of politics might not be about elections or debates, but about subtle shifts in power and influence over millions of years. Our best negotiators would be like toddlers in a boardroom, unable to grasp the deep underlying currents of galactic power. What if our first diplomatic meeting isn't with a grand emperor, but a committee tasked with our planetary classification? We define ourselves by our cultures, our history, our unique traditions. We believe that our individual identities and nationalities are what make us human. The myth is that we would maintain these distinct cultures. The reality is that they would likely be diluted or even erased by the sheer scale of a galactic community. The shocking fact is that our music, our art, our philosophies could be seen as simple variations of themes that have been explored for millions of years by other species. The connection. Think about the homogenization of cultures on Earth due to globalization. McDonald's in China, Hollywood movies in India. Cultural artifacts bleed into each other, creating a globalized, if somewhat bland, shared experience. Now imagine that process on a cosmic scale. Our most profound ideas and creations might be treated as a novelty, a brief flash of uniqueness quickly integrated and catalogued. Would our national anthems mean anything to a species that doesn't have nations? Would our great works of literature have any impact on a being with a fundamentally different psychology? We would no longer be the most advanced, or even the most interesting species in our own galaxy. And that cosmic humility would be the hardest pill to swallow. The future is a blank page, but if you want to be ready for the incredible stories we'll be writing on it, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. We're going to be exploring the most incredible and baffling questions in the universe, and you won't want to miss a single one. And tell us in the comments below, what do you think would be the most difficult galactic law for humanity to follow? So we've gone from dreaming of first contact to contemplating a future under a galactic thumb. We've seen that our cherished legal systems, our economies, and even our very sense of purpose could be rendered obsolete. We've considered the staggering possibility that humanity's greatest challenge might not be fighting off an alien invasion, but simply fitting in. The next time you look up at the night sky, don't just see stars. See a galaxy of rules, a cosmos of laws, and a destiny that may not be our own to write. The question isn't whether we'll survive first contact, but whether we'll survive the first day of our new life in a galactic society.